excited to talk to everybody today about the upcoming conference. So thrilled that you all can join us. You may have noticed you've been automatically muted just with so many people. We just want to encourage folks to use the chat and welcome having questions there. We hope that once we get started, we're going to answer all your questions, but we'll take questions at the end. Um, but yeah, we're really excited that you're here to talk about the National Self-Direction Conference. And it looks like I'm just stalling for a minute because we've got more people joining us. We've got a great crew coming. This is the first time we're doing a webinar in advance of the conference. So we're excited to try this out and give folks kind of a sneak peek of what to expect when you come to Minneapolis. But I think we've had enough people trickle in that I'm going to pass it over to Brenda to just take care of some housekeeping, and then we'll talk a little more about ourselves and the conference.
Right. So we just wanted to make available that if any of you need closed captioning or translation, you'll find that at the bottom of your screen. For some of you, you might need to click the More button, which is a circle, and then you'll see the letter CC, and that would allow for closed captioning. And it will also allow for a translation service if you want to switch to a language of your choice. And here's another, this is what it will look like if you manage to get it turned on for the closed captioning. So, and with that, we'll start with some welcomes.
Yeah, so I think to start, we're just going to each introduce ourselves, and then I want to give you just a little context about the history of the conference before we get into talking about what's coming up later this month. I can start. I'm Molly Morris. I'm one of the three co-founders today of the Self-Direction Center. I've had the privilege of getting to work in the national self-direction space for well over 15 years now. I come to this work as a sibling of somebody with an intellectual and developmental disability, and also my training is in social work, focusing on working with older adults. So I have a lot of experience from some different perspectives, and it's been the joy of my career to get to work with this community. And I'm excited to be with you all today. Erica, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Erica. I am also one of the founding members of the Self-Direction Center. And when I'm not plotting my revenge on Brenda for using that terrible picture of me on the slide before this, I don't know why she didn't tell me this one was in there, but I work for Applied Self-Direction. It is a national organization to advance self-direction. I'm a senior consultant there. I mostly work with case managers in different self-direction programs and participants in self-direction. Before that, I was an Iris consultant, which in Wisconsin is kind of like the equivalent of a care manager in our self-direction program, and also a support broker in Wisconsin. Those are probably all terms that are not common because, if you know one self-direction program, you know one self-direction program, and we all like to have our own terms. But I also, the majority of my experience comes from being a disabled person. I have a form of muscular dystrophy called spinal muscular atrophy, and I do need assistance 24/7 in my home, and I do that with self-direction. So I have been self-directing for more years than I'd like to admit, and I do manage about a staff of about 7 people right now with many backups for my backup plan. So. Oh, and also for a visual description, I'm wearing a gray sweater with a with stripes, blue and pink stripes. You can barely see it, folks. I'm not very tall, with reddish brown hair with tinsel in it that unfortunately you can't see right now, but I'm going to get it done next week. So when I see you all in 2 weeks, it'll be brand new and shiny. And I'm wearing a blue headband in my hair. So, Brenda.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Vitale. I'm also one of the co-founders of the Self-Direction Center. I feel lucky enough that I remember the first conference of this iteration where we had to stuff packets and everything was on paper. And so it's been a long time coming, almost 20 years this community has grown. And so my background is also in social work. I was part of the cash and counseling demonstration, which is one of the ways that we know self-direction is an effective and really um, just such an important part of choice for people who want to stay at home in the community. And my visual description, I'm a middle-aged woman with short brown hair. I normally wear glasses, but today I do not have them on. And so with that, I'll pass it back over to Molly, who can tell you a little bit more.
Thank you. And I forgot to give my visual description, but I'm a 40-something white woman with blondish brown hair and a floral top and sitting in my office with some plants and things in the background. But yeah, I thank you again for everyone for being here. And as Brenda said, this conference has been around for almost 20 years. And the self-direction national movement has really grown alongside this event. And when it first got started, it was, and so I know some of you here may have been at that first conference. Tell us if you were. The conference really started out as geared towards the financial management services industry. So our FMS providers who across the country partner with self-direction programs to manage the payroll and tax and labor for self-direction programs. Um, we're really coming together to try and be in conversation with some of the federal offices, including the IRS and Department of Labor, really talking about how financial management services are structured. And over time, as self-direction matured and grew, and there was less need for kind of meeting to figure out how we do self-direction well to grow the model, but really more and more people across different stakeholder roles in self-direction, whether that be as an FMS provider, a state administrator, someone who self-directs, someone who is a support broker or provides case management or some kind of information and assistance support in self-direction. There just continued to be interest for all different stakeholders to come together. So, in more recent years, the National Self Direction Conference has really welcomed anyone who cares about self direction with the sole purpose of really coming together to talk about what's going well with self direction, what are we learning, what can we do better, and being together as a community. And so, historically, the National Self-Direction Conference took place in person every other year in Baltimore. So our most recent conference was now just 2 years ago in Baltimore. For the first time, we are taking the conference on the road to Minneapolis and Minnesota. And in future years, we will be going to different locations. I saw a question, where are you going in 2027 yet? That is top secret. We're not sharing that yet, but that will be coming soon. We will be announcing that after this upcoming conference. But we are so excited to be taking this conference to different locations. One, we know people are located all over the country, and being in different locations makes it more accessible to different people. I think also people have been to Baltimore quite a lot and are excited to see different parts of the country. And we really want to take the chance when we go to different states and cities to highlight self-direction in that community. So that'll be part of our time together in Minnesota. Is we'll be hearing some lessons learned about what's happening for self-direction specifically in Minnesota. But with that said, I'm going to move us along. And another big change for this conference, this is the first time that the Self-Direction Center is hosting the National Self-Direction Conference. So we actually just formally launched basically exactly a year ago in May 2025. And as Brenda and Erica and I said, we've all worked in the national self-direction space for a long time. But there hasn't been a national nonprofit that is focused entirely on self-direction. And so that is why the Self-Direction Center is so important, because as a nonprofit, it is a, community-driven, community-led, mission-based organization. So you can go to our website and see we recently expanded our board of directors to include just a wonderful slate of folks who've worked in self-direction, who use self-direction, who are incredible leaders in their states and nationally. And so we are so proud to bring those folks together to help us really make sure that this organization is responsive to this community that's coming together for the conference. So we're a new organization. We're continuing to build what we do, but we really strive to help educate people about self-direction, build that national community, provide support to advocates to be able to share the story accurately of self-direction, and also to advance research that continues to tell us why self-direction works well. So you may have been to some of our new Huddle webinars. This conference is very much part of what we're trying to do for this community, and we're continuing to build out that programming. And I think now more than ever, with some of the challenges and threats we're seeing nationally to self-direction, this organization and this conference matters more than ever. So I'm so grateful and proud that we can bring folks together for this exciting new iteration of the National Self-Direction Conference. So with that said, as a new organization putting on this conference, this would not have been possible without our incredibly generous conference sponsors. We have a slide up now that acknowledges, you can see a large number. We have dozens of logos of different organizations on the screen who have supported the National Self-Direction Conference. You will learn much more about all of their involvement when you access the program and throughout the conference. Each one of these sponsors has committed significantly financially to support the conference and specifically to support different elements of the conference agenda. And I cannot say thank you enough to our incredible conference sponsors for supporting this event, believing in us, and pulling it off. I also want to acknowledge that when we launched a year ago, we have an incredible slate of founding organizational sponsors, many of whom are also conference sponsors, and we want to acknowledge them for helping the center to get launched. And then many of you may have applied and received travel grants to attend the conference. This was specifically geared towards people who self-direct and family members. And we are incredibly grateful to our sponsors who provided support so that we could give those travel grants to as many folks as possible, because part of what we think makes this conference so special is that we are bringing all the different stakeholders to the table. And when you're having a self-direction conference, there's no stakeholder group more important than people who are actually self-directing and living this model every day. So we're so glad that we could make that possible for people. And thanks for all the love and hearts. I'm feeling so pumped up. So, uh, all right, I think we're ready for the next slide. And Brenda, I think that's over to you.
Great. Well, before we dive into all of the nuts and bolts and things that are just going to be happening next week, I'd really like to just say, like, thank you for taking the time to be here, because it means that you're really showing up intentionally, and that's the spirit of this conference. So Erica is going to tell you about a time last May when we started dreaming of this conference and we headed to Minnesota to see what was possible.
Yeah, and when we headed to Minnesota, it was about 100 degrees, 95 every day, I think. Molly left California and was excited for a Midwest break, and then it was like warmer in in Minnesota than California, but I was loving it. I kept asking them if we could be outside, and they were not as excited. But the good news is that the large room that is pictured here on your right, where the opening plenary and the meals and things like that will be, is windows. So it's all very like just, you're not locked in a small conference room for the whole thing. It made me very happy and very excited and just very open. We did do a tour a couple times of the space and did check out all the different locations, nooks and crannies, went into all the different rooms to make sure for accessibility to be able to get around it. It is a very nice open area. I mean, once you put 400 people in it, who knows? But right now it's super open. But we did make sure there was enough room to get around everywhere and get through everything. I'm probably most excited about the outdoor tables, so I can go sit out there and get a break from that air conditioning sometimes. So there are nice little outdoor tables. And each room is very accessible, very easy to get around in. This is the kind of floor plan of the space. There are 3 entrance points that you can come in from. So depending on where you're staying, if you're driving in that day, if you're staying at the Graduate, if you're coming from one of the other hotels, if you happen to live nearby and you're driving in, you might come from a different area, but don't worry, we will have lovely assistants there to greet you or signs as to where to go at each of the locations. We won't let you just guess where you have to be. But if you just follow the light in this situation, do that, you're good. When I was thinking of like notes to say for this, I was gonna say that I've never gone pee in public so much, but then I realized I should probably edit that to I've never gone pee in public restrooms. I didn't just pee in public, don't worry. So much as when we did this tour. We just checked out there are so many, there's lots of nice accessible bathrooms. There is like a bathroom stall in the actual bathroom that is nice and accessible, as you can see in my picture here. But then there are also like private bathrooms, single family bathrooms for thanks, Katie, for use also. So if you need like, more space or you need more privacy, things like that. Um, yeah, and there will be equipment on hand to use. So if you need a Hoyer, things like that. We did also do the crazy little tunnel and walk down there. And boy, you don't really know how much your voice echoes till you're in a tunnel. So don't be talking, the dish about things that you don't want other people to know because trust me, everyone will know everything that happens in this tunnel.
Oh, and I'll just interrupt really quick, Erica, just to say this is the tunnel between the Graduate
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Hotel that connects to the McNamara Center where the conference is taking place. So some, but not all of you will be using this tunnel, but it is kind of a fun, interesting little underground pathway.
And if I remember correctly, now, I mean, we did do this tour a year ago and I can barely remember yesterday, but I do think that it has some like up and down hills. So if you do use a wheelchair, just be prepared to like maybe fall down a little bit and then come back up. But do make sure you follow the maroon signs in the elevator because otherwise you'll end up getting off in the parking garage and that only has stairs. So kind of defeats the purpose of an elevator. So make sure we're not doing that. And then I think I'm passing it over to Brenda because I don't know anything about transportation.
Great. So we wanted to let you know that because of the size of our conference, we're using 4 different hotels. And we are also, for the first time, hosting an off-site event because there's nothing like going to a city and not getting to spend time in other venues. So we'll tell you a little bit more about the off-site event, but this map will be in your app and it will also be in the program. All of the venues that we're using are within a 10 to 15 minute reach using accessible paths. And next week, next Wednesday, you'll all receive an email with detailed instructions about transportation, including hotel shuttles, opportunities to use vans and lift passes. We'll talk a little bit about the metro in Minnesota, which is very accessible. So we'll also have directions for those of you who are driving. But today, just know that we are planning this and we wanted to give you a preview of the spaces that we'll be in on campus. So. Okay, next, the app. So I will say, though there are many of you on this call, I recognize your name, who have been very gracious and patient with our software vendor. We've had a couple of glitches, as often happens, but we're excited. Next Tuesday, we will send you all an email with a download code so that you can receive the app. And we will have a printed program on site, but the app is the one place where we can send you immediate messages should we need to tell you anything that's happening on site. It's also, in case we had a change to the printed agenda in terms of a room, it's the most reliable source. But it's also a fun way to connect to people. It's a way to talk to the exhibitors on site. And also, it will allow you to digitally bookmark any of the sessions that you're thinking about so that you have the agenda and then you have your own My Schedule, which is the stuff that you would really narrow down. We have over 30 sessions to choose from. And so this gives you a way to say, this is what I was thinking of going to. So once you click the bookmark, you aren't required to attend that session by any means, but it just helps you narrow down the things that seemed interesting to you as you filtered and sorted through your choices. Um, Okay, next up, when you arrive, as Erica mentioned, there are 3 doors. When we will have greeters on hand and you can look for the large gold tables that say the Self-Direction Center. You'll register, grab your name badge, get your program agenda and activity book, and just start to mingle around and get ready for the welcome lunch on Wednesday. One of the ways that you'll know who you can ask questions for in any given time block, our volunteers will be wearing a yellow lanyard. And so you would know that that's somebody that might be able to help you with any of your small questions. But if you're struggling with anything a little bit more serious and you need help, you can stop by the success desk and we'll help you solve for those questions. So at all times, there will be one table in Memorial Hall where you can stop by and get some solutions. Okay. So finally, what to expect. We know, actually, Molly, are you going to take this slide or me?
I was
Great.
going
I
to.
started to steal your thunder. Go, please.
No, 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 you're good. Um, I know many of you have been to this conference before, and some of you are coming for the first time. But I think it's important to just, because this is the first time the center is doing it, it will look a little different than the conference has ever looked before. I think we're keeping a lot of what's worked and just continuing to grow and expand. One thing that I think is really important to note, and I've heard some questions somewhat related to this, of who is coming to the conference? Who else is going to be there? And as I mentioned at the beginning, this conference is really geared towards anyone who uses or works within a self-direction program. So it's really bringing together a large number of different stakeholders. So depending on your own connection to self-direction, whether you self-direct yourself, you're a state administrator, you've maybe gone to some conferences in the past where the conference is really geared towards people who are in a similar role as you. So maybe you've been to an advocacy conference. It's all about advocating for self-direction that's kind of focused on your state. Or maybe you're a state administrator and you've gone to some national conferences that are really primarily speaking to states. This conference is designed so that it's helpful for anyone who cares about self-direction. So when you look at the different session options, you'll see an array of sessions that some of them you might look at and think, huh, this seems like it's more for an FMS provider or someone who self-directs. And yes, there are sessions that have a little bit more of a focus on maybe one stakeholder group or another, but all of our speakers have been encouraged to create spaces that are open to anyone who cares about self-direction. And we also think, any topic that you care about, you are welcome in that space and in that room to come be part of the conversation. I think we talk a lot about the idea of nothing about us without us. And so I think what's great about the self-direction conference is people who self-direct can go into every one of these sessions, including ones that are really getting into some nitty-gritty policy issues, and be in the room to share perspective and share lived experience and grapple with those conversations. And people that are coming at this from a professional role are getting engaged with people who self-direct and work in many different roles. So we really think that's one of the magic factors of this conference. And people are coming from every level of experience. We've got people who've been self-directing or working in this field for decades, and we've got people who maybe are self-directing for the first time or have only worked in this space fairly recently. And we really think we have a good mix of material that meets all experiences. And one thing that really came clear to us after the last conference was people really want the chance to connect with each other. So we've really tried to design the conference in a way where, yes, you're coming and attending sessions and you're going to learn a lot, but we've also created a lot of opportunities that we'll talk more about in a little bit for you to share your experience, share your perspective, and engage in discussion so we can all work together. And because this is a a big but not huge, it's a smaller conference compared to other conferences where less than 400 people, you're going to have the chance to connect and meet new people and make new relationships that we really hope can lead to long-term collaboration, and look forward to helping to nurture those opportunities for you to connect with one another. Oh, was I talking about this too, Brenda? Okay, sorry. So the program, you'll have some elements that are familiar to you and some that are new. So when you see a plenary in the conference program, those are sessions where everyone at the conference comes together in that one big room with the windows to hear a session together. So as Brenda mentioned, when you arrive on Wednesday, we'll start with a welcome session, everyone together in the plenary room. The first day, we're doing something we've not done before, which is to have intensive sessions. And we're calling them intensives because you're spending more time on one topic than you would in our breakout sessions that are more like an hour. So, our intensive sessions, there are 5 different simultaneous intensive sessions. And they will each go 3.5 hours. There will be time for break and snacks and drinks, but we have some great sessions that are going to allow for very focused conversations on specific topics. And this was really trying to be responsive to feedback we've heard in the past of people feeling sometimes like they've had to be a little rushed in conversation. And so we really, on this first day, wanted to give space for folks to go deep. I will say I've heard from some people saying, I don't know, that's a really long time. And I want to just name that this is a safe space for people to get up and walk around, take a break when you need to. If it only fits for you to go to half of an intensive, that's completely okay. We encourage you to do what works for you, but we also wanted to provide that space to go deep. Our breakouts are going to start on Thursday. And so at any given time when we have breakout sessions, you'll have 4 to 5 sessions to choose from. And these are sessions that many of you, people from our community, have submitted that they wanted to present about a best practice, something that they've been learning, to have a conversation. And so we had a wonderful content committee that helped evaluate the many, many submissions. We got way more submissions than we could actually accept for live in person. So these are stellar breakout sessions, bringing together a lot of different diverse perspectives. We encourage you to check those out. And then for the first time on Friday, we're doing what's called a hackathon. And a hackathon often happens in a tech space, and it's when people come together and problem solve and try to build something new together. And we thought, and again, trying to be responsive to feedback we've heard, let's make space when we have this incredibly diverse community from across the country, different stakeholders together. Let's make space for some of these conversations to happen within our community. So you may remember over a month ago, we sent out a survey asking for people to identify the greatest challenges impacting self-direction right now. And based on your votes, we've identified a top 5 challenges facing the self-direction community. You will choose one of those challenges and go to a room where we have trained facilitators who will help this group that's come together to talk through that challenge and what we as a community want to recommend to try and come together to help address that challenge. We'll then end the conference by coming together, hearing from what all of our different 5 groups talked about. And at the center, we're going to take those recommendations as a guide for the coming year. So we really want that interaction and that chance for everyone to come together. And actually, Erica is one of our hackathon facilitators. So Erica, I don't know if you want to add anything about what you're expecting from the hackathon.
Yeah, so I just got the pleasure of meeting my co-facilitators, and we are um, obviously the best group. Ignore Katie there if she tries to make faces or say that she is not that we are not the best one. But yes, lovely group of humans, and we're doing a support brokering hackathon. I'm super excited about it. The kind of mission focus area. Um, but support brokerage is such a big topic right now, and trying to just bring that group together, and really excited to help facilitate a discussion and some brainstorming and solutions to some of those big problems. But we truly are the best, and ignore those. Yeah, I did tell them that. I said, I got an up close view of Katie's nose hairs this morning. So, but yeah, it's really fun, and I think that it's going to be a really cool experience, and our support brokering one will be the best, so please feel free to come to it.
Well, thanks, Erica. No bias at all there,
I
right?
know. Mm-mm. No.
Just real quick, Brenda, if you want to go back just to note a few tips is when you're navigating the program, if you're looking at it from home now and you don't live in the central time zone, like I'm in Pacific time zone, the times reflect the time, the central time zone, the time it will be when you are in Minnesota. And you'll see different tracks. This is just to help give you ideas of what sessions to go to, but you don't have to stick to a track. Follow what you're interested in. And we know that it's going to be really hard for people to choose which session to go to because we've got really great sessions. So we encourage you to buddy up and maybe divide and conquer if you're seeing multiple sessions that you would like to attend. We are also making a lot of efforts to make material available after the event. So please know that we will do our best because all of us want to be in every room. Okay, Brenda, your turn.
Okay, great. So now that we've talked about the content and what's going to fill our daytimes, we want to talk about one of my favorite quotes about the conference in the past was, "The magic happens in the hall." And so we wanted to make more hall time, like when you run into somebody and you have that casual conversation. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the social and the networking opportunities that we've created for you to connect with people. Um, One of the first things that we've done is we've, on the name tag, we're adding what state you live or work in so that that will help facilitate conversations. If you've been curious about the way maybe someone self-directs in Utah, you could ask them some questions. And so that might be one of the ways that you identify with people right from the beginning. Um, Day one, we are going to have a welcome reception. We have never done an off-site reception before, so we're really excited, and I'll tell you a little bit about the venue in the next slide. We are going to do our traditional exhibitor hall, which is really a chance to spend time with the companies that support self-direction. And so these are not just companies who um, all of them have wanted to show up in some way. And so some of them might be fiscal management, FIs or FMSs. Some of them might be part of technology, but we also have some community organizations, some policy groups. However, this year our exhibit hall is 1 day only. And that was very intentional because our exhibitors on the reverse side said, I don't just want to sit in a room by myself for days and days. I want to be in the sessions. So please know that on Thursday from noon until 7:30, you have your opportunity to go through the exhibit halls and visit with the people that are there to talk to you more about the way they're involved in self-direction. We're also going to have time on Thursday at lunch. It's going to be a mostly open agenda so that you can visit and sit with new people. And then finally on Thursday evening, as soon as the sessions and the breakout sessions for the day wrap up at 5:30, we'll go into a reception from 5:30 to 7:30 where we'll be serving dinner. And then at 7:30, we are bringing back one of our events, which is a karaoke night and a silent disco. More details are coming on that too. But those are all opportunities for you to connect to your colleagues. And this is a photo of where our offsite event will be. And so this is Malcolm Yards, and it's a historic building. It's over 150 years old. We will have our own private room, and it's right along it has a railroad history, and so it just felt like a nice way for you to be outside of the university, and to have our first night together at Malcolm Yards.
Don't worry, also use the restroom here. Very accessible.
It's kind of a fun place. Eric and I went for dinner. It's got about 9 different restaurants, kind of incubators in the Minnesota community. And so you'll be able to try a lot of different foods. And it also has a beer wall where you'll be able to try lots of different drinks. And it wouldn't be Minnesota without having an opportunity like that.
And don't
Some
worry,
of
the
our
beer wall also has seltzer for those of us that don't drink beer.
and cider and non-alcoholic drinks, yes. So, okay, some of our other extras that we would love to talk to you about to plant the seed. The first one is our story studio, and we're collaborating with the ICI at the University of Minnesota to give each of you an opportunity to share your story with self-direction. So before you go, you'll be able to book an appointment for 20 to 30 minutes if you have a story you'd like to share. And that will be happening all day Thursday and all day Friday. We will have professional headshots. If you're like me and you probably got your last picture taken at Glamour Shots, this is your chance to freshen that up. We will have a social listening wall. And if you're wondering what a social listening wall is, it's an art project that brings together the community by posing one question. And we'll have an artist that brings that question to life. That will happen during the reception. We've put together a travel guide, and I shouldn't say we, our content committee who lives in Minnesota has been sending us all of their ideas of the best things that make the Twin Cities and greater Minnesota such an amazing space. And so that is on our website now. It's an interactive tool, but it's also inside of the program agenda that you'll be receiving. And finally, we are having karaoke again. We will be working on the songs of self-direction before we go. There's so many songs. Um, this picture, I remember this person singing My Way, which felt very appropriate. And so that will be on Thursday night from 7:30 to 9:30. Okay. Molly, it's back to you.
Great. I will say, Brenda, I don't know, did you mention the silent disco too? That is
Oh no, I
happening?
forgot the silent disco. How could I forget? Thank you, thank you. So one of the other things that we want to be respectful of is that sometimes karaoke is just too loud. And so one of the things that we have added is in the room next to the dance and the karaoke is a silent disco. And it's a great way for people to put on their headphones, choose their own music, choose no music, but stay part of the party. Um, and so yes, thank you for reminding me, Molly. I've been most excited about it and I forgot it. So.
Of course, I'm excited about it too. All right. Just a couple of tips. Again, for those of you coming for the first time, but I think this is relevant to anyone. One, I get to be in conversation with folks in this community a lot, and when I talk to people in private, sometimes I hear people say things like, "Oh, I'm not really the expert," or I don't know about all this technical stuff related to self-direction." Please do not be shy about asking questions. We want you to ask questions. Nobody knows everything. And if you have a question, chances are someone else in the room probably does too. And as much as self-direction is a model that in its concept is very simple, it's an idea about people having more choice and control, but the program itself can be kind of complicated. And sometimes it's unclear when we're talking about these programs. So please ask questions. Also, and I'm an introvert, so I know this isn't always natural, but introduce yourself, really try to connect with people. This is an incredible community. We really hope you'll make those connections. We've made some allusions to this so far, but in every state and even across different programs within the same state, people use different language to talk about self-direction. Each of our states have different program names, different terms like financial management services in one state is called fiscal intermediary in another state. We ask you to be mindful about helping decode your language for each other. And particularly if you're one to use acronyms a lot, try to be mindful and spell those acronyms out, and we'll all hold each other accountable to that. I also want to name it's a really sensitive time right now. We're seeing budget cuts happening nationally. We're seeing scrutiny of home and community-based services in general, concerns about fraud that aren't really necessarily based in the facts of what we know about the prevalence of fraud. We know that people are worried and tensions are high, and we're going to be grappling with a lot of these topics. And you might be in spaces where, again, we're bringing diverse stakeholders together. Not everyone's going to agree, and we want to make a safe space for there to be dialogue, to share different perspectives, and to learn from each other. I think we all see different parts of the story of self-direction, and this event is really helping each other understand maybe what we weren't aware of before. So we ask you to come with an open mind and be prepared to listen. There will be a quiet room that's available throughout the conference. It's a space where you can go to decompress, to meditate, to take a break. We encourage you to use that space. I know I get really overstimulated being in a loud space with a lot of people, and we hope this will make it a friendlier space for people. And again, I'll just end where I started, which is that, I hear sometimes people saying, "Oh, I'm not the expert. I don't know that much." If you have any experience in your life with self-direction, you do have expertise. And if you are at this conference, you care about self-direction, you are where you are supposed to be. And we are very, very glad that each one of you is joining us. You are so welcome in this community.
Great. I'll take it back just for a minute and kind of talk about some of the resources. So I've mentioned it, and I'll mention it again, which will be the Excel Events app. Molly just talked a little bit about the quiet space. We are going to have cart captioning in the majority, if not all, of the rooms. We really do welcome your feedback. Please remember that this is really my chance to say, we tried to think of everything, but I know we've forgotten something, and events are never perfect, and this is a big event with a small team. And so we'll really just appreciate both your patience, but your ideas, as we, approach as we approach our event. Um, know that there are people in this space who've been there before, and you'll have the volunteers and you'll have other folks that you can ask for a resource. And then finally, in the lobby, not only do we need to recharge our batteries, we literally need to recharge our batteries. So we will have a workstation for those emails that can't wait, and if you need to plug in your cell phone. So, and then finally, there's a large conference committee and many volunteers that we would like to thank, but I would be remiss to not mention some of the organizations who've really stepped up and helped shape the intensives, our hackathon, and our entire agenda. And so we're really grateful for those community collaborators. And I'm going to kick off by starting about some of the FAQs, and there's been a lot of great questions that have come in through the chat as well. And then we will leave time at the end for your individual questions that you might have. The first one we'd like to mention is many of you know, in the winter months, Minnesota, they saw an unprecedented level of federal immigration enforcement activity. And while we know that this activity has lessened, we do want to be prepared, and we want you to know that it is still on our mind. So together with the McNamara Alumni Center and our designated hotels, we do have a safety and communication plan, and we are in touch with the mayor's office to stay abreast of anything new that would be happening in Minneapolis, because your safety matters. That is one of the reasons why we would like you all to use the Acel Events app, because it is the fastest way outside of email that we could reach you with a push notification. We don't anticipate any problems, but we do want to be prepared. Okay, on a lighter note, we know that getting around is very important. And so, as I mentioned, the best way that I could talk to you about transportation will be the email that's coming next week with all of your choices. But if anyone has concerns earlier, please reach out to me, as we begin to navigate through those answers. Um, I've gotten some questions about how you can talk to each other as attendees. That also is part of the app. You can send in messages, and you can, you know, there's a chat feature inside of the app. For those of you who asked why we chose Minnesota, in addition to the fact that the self-direction program is innovative and strong and community driven, it's just a beautiful place to visit. And so I would, recommend the guide we put together, but know that the University of Minnesota campus is on the river. It's a beautiful place to be. There's an art museum on campus, and so we're just really excited about that. Um, and then we've had some folks say that, a 3-day conference is great, but they can't make it to day one. Don't worry, we will have a smaller registration table set up every day. It'll be part of the solution desk, and so you can get your badge if you're just able to join us for the final 2 days. So those are some of the questions that I've been getting in my email, that I thought I would just get people's brain going. But if there are other questions, you are welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question. We can keep some things going in the chat, as we think about if there's anything else you'd like to know. Molly or Eric, is there a good question that came in the chat that you feel like we should share with the group?
Yeah, Brenda, I know you said that more transportation information is coming, so you might want to defer on this, but we did get a question. Are any of the hotel shuttles accessible or have lifts for us chair rollers?
Yeah, so for chair rollers, I'm going to be working with each of you individually because the hotel um, doesn't have a built-in van for that. So I'm going to be reaching out. One of the reasons we asked a number of questions with registration is so that we could talk to you about how you would prefer to get to the hotel. So you'll be hearing from me individually. So
Awesome. I see Kyle, your hand is raised. Sorry, I muted you for, but you should be able to unmute yourself now. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, so you were talking about the Lyft Pass and the Metro and the app. I don't have the app or the when are we getting the Lyft Pass and Metro Pass?
perfect. So the Lyft pass you'll get next Wednesday, and you'll get a text message, which is um, with the voucher. And that's why I've been sending the emails that say, please make sure I have your best phone number because Lyft does work through texting. And so the Metro Pass is a little different, and I can send you a message on that, Kyle, if you think that you'll take the Metro Pass. But the Metro Pass it's $2, and the pass lasts for 2.5 hours if you were to use the metro.
Great question, Kyle. I'm jumping around in the chat. I'm seeing this was before you talked about the silent disco. Sean asked, "Is there an option for a silent karaoke?" Asking for a friend whose best singing is more lip syncing. Now listen, we do have the silent disco, which is different than silent karaoke, but I would encourage anyone to get up on stage and your microphone has a power switch. So you are welcome to turn your microphone off and get up there and have some fun.
Great. I'll answer a couple of other transportation questions, and I'll in fact do my best to get the email out sooner rather than later because it sounds like people are very curious about this. I was afraid if I sent it too soon, people would be like, "Oh, those are too detailed logistics." The light rail does go straight from the airport. So if you're someone who likes public transportation and doesn't like traffic, you are welcome to take the light rail, and I'll let you know what the line is that brings you right to campus. So. The full agenda is on the website now. You don't have to wait for the app, and we'll follow up in an email for those of you who attended this with the exact link. But you can actually search by speaker, you can search by session, you can search by track. It's on the conference website under the word agenda. So,
And Jules, I see your hand is raised if you want to go ahead and tell us your question.
Hi, thank you. Sorry about that. So, the agenda's online. However, there's so many added benefits. Like there's the dinner with the sponsors that I got an email for this afternoon. There's all of these, we'll call them like extracurriculars, I suppose. So, kind of including all those and putting those together. I'm trying to put a schedule together for how many work hours. Is there like an estimate on in number of hours how long altogether all the different activities of the conference are going to be if you add everything up across the 3 days?
well, they're long days. So I will say
Mhm.
that, which is why we've invited you to have breaks. I would say if somebody were to attend all day Wednesday, you'd be there for lunch, you'd be there for registration around 10:30 or 11 o'clock. You might go to the reception off-site that we are hosting that goes, it could go until 9 if you chose to. It starts at 6. On Thursday, we do start, the first session is at 9. And if you stayed through karaoke, that would be 9:30. And then Friday is our shorter day. And so the first sessions will be at 9. And we're hoping to wrap up and have everyone headed to the airport or enjoying the city by 2 o'clock. There are, um, traditionally at conferences, I think one of the invites you might have gotten today is there will be some people who choose to use this time to bring people together on their own. And I don't often know what some of those offsite events are, so I can't speak to their timing. But it's not uncommon for a group of people to reserve a reception hall at a nearby restaurant. So,
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the question. So,
I just wanted to call out one of the questions about in-person live breakout sessions being recorded for people to access and view at a later point, including the intensives. Brenda answered this a little bit in the chat, but I just wanted to name we will not be recording any intensives because those are very discussion driven, and that is often very difficult to record in just acoustically and in the room. We will be using, depending on the intensive, some tools to try and capture a transcript for note taking purposes afterwards. And then some sessions will be recorded to be made available after the fact, but not all sessions will be recorded. Again, we will be using transcription and chart cart tools that will help make some of that content summarizable after the event. And we've invited everyone who's doing a breakout to coming this summer re-record their session in Zoom and make those recordings available after the fact because there are a lot of people who wanted to be at the conference who couldn't be there. So we're using as many strategies as we can to capture as much content as we can. Brenda, I don't know if you'd add anything to that.
I think the thing I would add is that many people who may be on this call were also invited to record their session that will be part of additional content we'll be able to provide. So, because as Molly mentioned, we had about 3 times as many session proposals as we had space for. So, in addition to the fact that there'll be a recap of some of the content that will have happened in Minnesota, once we're able to bring our digital library forward, it'll have even new topics that we weren't able to present live. So.
I see Shauna has a hand raised. Go ahead and correct me if I'm not saying your name correctly.
Perfect. Only person that ever gets it right.
Good. You know I always try.
All right. Hey guys, so quick question. I'm actually flying in early on Wednesday. My flight got moved. Will the hotel graduate specifically allow for early check-in?
Shauna, I will email you and I have contacts at all the hotels. And so if, I will do the ask and I think they'll make it happen. So I'll chat you offline and we'll figure out how to, if not, we have a secure room. So,
Okay.
so one of the two ways, but I'm pretty sure they'll work with us. So,
Okay. Thank you.
of course, of course. Well, I will say I just appreciate everybody spending time. Um, I do see another question coming in. Um, is there a spot at the Alumni Center to rest, such as couches? There are, in the workstation room, there are some very comfortable lounge chairs, but they are not couches that you could recline on. But they are more comfortable than kind of traditional furniture. Um, so I will just say I'm so grateful that people were able to join us today. This shows us, for those of you who are subscribers to our Friday self-direction in the news, I think that you know that there's a lot at stake right now for self-direction, and this work is really hard. The landscape is shifting, um, and none of us can do this alone. And so I think that this community is really one of our greatest strengths, and I'm just so very grateful that this conference gives us the space to come together and connect. So thank you all. We'll see you very, very soon.
Thank you so much, everybody.